Hello, I'm Elaine Kuzmeskus, a professional astrologer, and welcome to my channel, Soul Cycles. Today, we're going to talk about the moon because the moon represents our emotions, our feelings, represents the public, which is very important. And February, we have two important conditions regarding the moon. We have the new moon, February 9th, which is a good time to start things, and the full moon on February 24th, which is a time of fruition. Now, the new moon on February 9th is generally considered favorable in Aquarius for technology, working with the public, and businesses. However, this new moon is going to be a little dicey because it makes a square to the rebellious planet Uranus. So be sure to check your computers, your car, and technical things in the home and office. It also will rile up the public a bit. People are going to be talking about states' rights versus the presidency. We're going to find more discussion about problems at the borders, and people in general are not going to be quite as happy, at least the masses. We also know that on a personal level, it's going to make people a little more forceful. So this is a time not to confront people, not to argue, but to be careful and pick your battles, which is probably a good idea anyway. We also find that people will need to be a bit more flexible in travel plans and also be willing to change things around as necessary. It's important to maintain a balance between the office and the home. As they say, all work and no play makes Johnny no fun. So try to be giving yourself the extra time for commutes, to get projects done, and to spend a little more time with friends and family. Now, laughter is important, and I think it's important to use your sense of humor during our new moon aspect. Really, think about ways you can relax. Meditation, taking a walk, reading a good book. And with Neptune making very good aspects, it's a wonderful time for meditation, taking a little time off in the woods, or allowing yourself to feel the beauty of nature itself. It's a good time to express affections because it makes a positive aspect to Neptune. And that's very good for Valentine's Day. So irregardless of how people feel, they're going to put their differences aside. And I think most people will enjoy some time with friends and loved ones. We also find the sweet things in life are emphasized around Valentine's Day. It's not just chocolates and roses, but also kind words that are very important. So I wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day. Now we go to the full moon. The full moon is a little more favorable, and the full moon is going to be very full February 23rd, 24, and 25. And this could be a good time to entertain because people are going to want to be out and about during the full moon. It's in the sign of Virgo, which is a more practical sign. So this also favors things to do with the office, business, organization. It's a good time to get your tax records straightened out and get ready for filing in April. And it's a time when Saturn makes aspects to the sun where older people are going to be a bit more practical. So for our senior citizens, this might be a very good time to downsize, give away what you don't need, and enjoy a little more flexibility in your home environment. We also find that inflation may slow down a little bit. Spending could slow down with Saturn making an aspect. We also find that in the world arena, don't ask me why, but it seems every February the price of oil changes and it affects the stock market as well. So pay attention to that as well. Now, we may find the economy could slow down just a little bit in February. It could be people are more practical. They're not going to be spending quite as much. But as a social scene, it's fine because the full moon makes a trine to Jupiter. What could be better than that? The full moon says, I want to have fun, and Jupiter, the good luck, abundant planet. So regardless of what world conditions are or what states' rights are complaining about, I think the youth of the nation are going to use the time to enjoy the full moon and the last days of February. So I'm going to close this wishing you a happy Valentine's Day and peace and goodwill to all. Well, another important event in the month of February is the sun goes into the sign of Pisces and will be in Pisces from February 19th to about March 20th. So happy birthday to all of you who are born under the sign of Pisces. Pisces is an interesting sign. It's ruled by Neptune, so they are intuitive, creative, and often spiritual. The sign of Pisces are two fish swimming in the opposite direction. And that's a little bit how Pisces is as a sign. I know all my Pisces friends usually take their time making decisions. They like to slowly acclimate to their environment, and they are the kindest people in terms of remembering birthdays and anniversaries. Very sentimental, artistic, and creative. But watch out. If you do anything to hurt someone they love, you could see a very different picture of Pisces. They're very, very protective people. Now, I'll give you examples of famous Pisces ladies. We have Lily Tomlin, who is interesting. Catherine O'Hara. Elizabeth Taylor shows the beauty of the sign of Pisces. Ivana Trump. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a Pisces, and I think she was a much more caring and sensitive person than she appeared on the Supreme Court. Liza Minnelli shows the creativity. We also have Carrie Underwood, the singer. Emily Blunt and Dakota Fanning are all Pisces ladies. For Pisces gentlemen, we have President George Washington, the leader of our country. And you know, he was a bit psychic. There are many stories told about George Washington where he had visions about what the nation was to become. And he had great intuition at Valley Forge. Who would have thought they would ever made it out of there? But they did. He had the vision that he saw the nation becoming a nation and prospering. Edgar Cayce is an example of a psychic. Albert Einstein. Einstein was brilliant. And he got many of his ideas in physics just by pushing a baby carriage or doing something relaxing. He had great intuitive mind. Mitch McConnell, George Harrison, the Beatle. And he's very interested in philosophy. Sadly, George Harrison is no longer with us. But when he was alive, he was interested in Eastern cultures and Ravi Shankar. And he also loved Autobiography of a Yogi. In fact, at his funeral, he gave everyone a copy of that book, which is about the famous yogi Paramahansa Yogananda. Daniel Craig, the actor that plays the Harry Potter films. We find Johnny Cash was a Pisces, and he had one of the big problems that Pisces have, often because they are so sensitive, they will drown their sensitivity with alcohol or drugs, but they can recover, and he did. We find that Sidney Poitier was a Pisces, Shaquille O'Neal, and Nat King Cole had that beautiful, soothing Pisces voice. Okay, so people born under the sign of Pisces often have sensitivity, artistic nature, and they love to be by water, whether it's a pool or the beach. They often have a quality where they are romantic, and a Pisces husband can be very thoughtful, and a Pisces wife instills a sense of optimism in her husband. Sometimes reality is a little difficult for Pisces because they are so sensitive, and making decisions can be a difficult thing for Pisces. If you have a Aries partner, it's kind of, well, let's get going. But if you have a Pisces partner, it's more like, well, let's think about that. Now, our Pisces of the month is a man that I have studied quite a bit about, Edgar Cayce. In fact, one of my favorite books is The Sleeping Prophet by Jess Stern. Edgar Cayce was born March 18th, 1877, so he's toward the end of the sign of Pisces. And he was really a reluctant psychic. He had had psychic and clairvoyant experiences since he was a child, but he was rather quiet and shy. And he began to have some problems with his voice. In fact, he had what doctors would now call hysterical paralysis of the vocal cords. And he visited a hypnotist who helped him overcome that. And pretty soon he began to in the hypnotic state, received medical intuitive impressions. And people were coming to see Mr. Cayce not to have their picture taken, but to have a psychic reading. He did channeled readings for most of his life, and they were done with the guide called the Source, which I believe was a group of guides on the other side. Anyway, let's take a look at Edgar Cayce's chart. There's a lot we can learn from it. To begin with, in any chart, the power points are the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. Cayce had his sun in the 8th house, which has a lot to do with death, dying, reincarnation, and trance states, and he was a trance medium. His moon was in the 9th house of philosophy, and it was conjunct the gentle planet Pisces, and he was very much interested in philosophy and traditional religion. It's in the sign of Taurus. He read the Bible every year, cover to cover. He was a Sunday school teacher and very devout in his Christian faith. His ascendant Leo was fortuitous because it liked people. He had a sense of humor. He enjoyed children, and he made people feel welcome. So a little bit about his basic qualities. He really accepted the idea of talking to the spirits, and he believed that there was more to our existence than we knew about at the present time. However, he didn't accept the idea of reincarnation because he was from a traditional Christian family. And in trance, when his guides began to tell him that he had lived many thousands of years ago as the priest Ra-Tai in ancient Egypt, it took a while for him to accept that. Eventually he did, and Cayce was a powerful and accurate channeler. He had a Victorian doctor that came through and gave diagnosis. He definitely wanted to help people above all else. And I think that desire, that Piscean desire to be of service to his fellow man, was really what kept him going. But in the end, it became his Achilles' heels. Because unfortunately, even though his guides told him he should not do more than 10 readings a week, he began to do like 10 readings a day during World War II. He simply couldn't say no. The moon in Taurus, he was very, very kind. The moon's exalted in Taurus, and they are very kind people. He did have a stubborn streak. He could get very angry if people were using his readings in a way to gain materially and not tell him. For example, his father liked to ask questions about the stock market every now and then. He got quite angry when he came out of trance and found out what was happening. I think that he gave a lot to others, and he's an example of how Pisces people like to be giving and compassionate. His one flaw in the chart was his temper. He did have a temper. His moon in Taurus made a wide square to Uranus in the 1st house, which meant he liked to do things his way, and he also could be very strong-willed. I guess you need to be strong-willed to be a medical channeler. Most of all, Pisces people want to make the world a better place. And in one of his readings, the sleeping prophet was asked, does it make a better husband or better businessman or better artist or better churchman? If so, cleave to it. If not, reject it. In other words, when he gave readings, he asked people, are you going to be a better person if you take this advice? And if so, use it. So I think he helped many people, wanted to make himself a better person, and literally thousands of people have benefited from his medical intuition and medical clairvoyant readings. So he is my favorite Pisces and shows the very best of those traits. So I'm going to leave that thought with you. If your practices make you a better person, your religion, your spirituality, your meditation, then by all means keep doing it. If you'd like to learn more about all the signs of the zodiac, Aries through Pisces, you might enjoy reading my book Soul Cycles, which is Astrology 101. And it is my basic course in astrology. I taught astrology at the community colleges for many years and kept all my notes. And when I had a little extra time, I put it in a 500-page book that you can purchase on my website, www.theartofmediumship, or at any bookstore or on Amazon. I also invite you to review what I've just told you in the video on my website, which is an astrology blog. and would be very helpful. I'm available for readings and also classes both on Zoom and in person. So I wish everyone a wonderful, happy February, and especially to enjoy all your Pisces friends and relatives.